and welcome to the Yardcast. Today we're going to be discussing pruning, specifically the different methods and types of pruning. Now, we're not going to get into how to do every single plant out there. That would be a full-time job in and of itself. Instead, this video will run down the basic techniques so that you'll have the tools you need when deciding how to prune your bushes. There are two main methods of pruning, shearing and clipping. Shearing is when you cut several branches at once, usually to create a clean, smooth edge. In this case, you can see how using hand shears allows me to quickly and easily shape these small holly bushes and give them a smooth, rounded look. Hand shears can be found at any hardware store, and it's worth springing for a good pair. Of course, if you want more power, there are other options too. Gas-powered shears can speed things up dramatically, but they take some getting used to and are usually more expensive and higher maintenance than regular hand shears. A variation on power shears is the pole shears. These can be great for cutting taller trees and shrubs that would otherwise require a ladder. The second method, cutting, doesn't use power tools unless you're cutting large branches with a chainsaw. Cutting is done one branch or stalk at a time using hand clippers or loppers. Generally, cutting is done when you just want to remove long shoots but don't want to completely smooth out the shape. In the case of this curly leaf ligustrum or these aucuba, we just want to even things out but retain the texture. Now that you know how to get what you want, it's time to decide what you want. Once you know the size and shape you want your plant to be, there are three main styles of pruning you'll use to achieve your goal: tip pruning, maintenance, and cutting back. Tip pruning is what you do when you want your plant to grow larger. You don't cut back as much, you mostly just trim the long shoots just to even it out. Here's a clearer on the corner of the house I want to grow taller, so I'll just cut the long stalks to even it out, but remove very little of the greenery on top. Maintenance is when your plant is already the size you want and you're just cutting it back to maintain that size. I keep these auto-leucan laurels about one board width below the window line. As you can see, by the time I get around to pruning, they've actually grown a little bit above the bottom of the window, and I have to cut them back pretty far just to get them back to that original height. Likewise, if I were to just tip prune the sky pencil holly, it would eventually get 7 or 8 feet tall. But I decided I want to keep this one at about 5 feet tall, so I just cut it back to that height every time. Finally, there's cutting back. This is what you do when a plant has gotten out of control and outgrown its space. Our example here is an espaliated sasanqua. It's supposed to be flat against the wall, but I've let it go, to the point where it started to impede the growth of the Hanoiki cypress beneath it. In this case, I'm going to remove everything that's growing away from the wall. First the big stuff using the loppers, and then the small stuff with hand clippers and shears. Then I'll go along the top and the sides to get it off the gutters and shape it the way I want. Now when you cut a plant back, it's inevitably going to look pretty bare. But you also need to be careful not to cut it back in such a way that you either kill it or irreparably damage the plant. It's best to do some research or consult a professional before severely cutting back one of your plants. So now that we know the different types of pruning, what are the steps for shaping something? Well, the rule of thumb is to first go around the base and establish the width of your plant. From here, you'll go straight up, curving in ever so slightly as you go. The reason for this is that you want the leaves on the bottom of the plant to get plenty of sunlight. If your top is wider than the base, the lower branches could get shaded out and the leaves will die, leaving you with bare patches. Like I said, these are general rules of thumb. Different plants get pruned at different times in different ways. If you're not sure how or when a particular plant should be cut, look it up or ask a professional first. The last step, of course, is cleaning up. Once you've raked up the big stuff and blown off the rest, go around and see if there are any long shoots you missed, particularly around the base of your plants. But that's it. Those are the basics of pruning. Hopefully that gives you the tools you need to get started in your own yard. If you have any questions or comments, you can email us at yardcast@gmail.com, follow us on Twitter at yardcast1, and check out the other episodes of our show on trianglelife.tv. Thanks for joining us, and we'll see you next time.